Welcome to my channel. I'm starting this channel as a resource for women who are interested in having a birth that is enjoyable, it's exciting, it's not scary, it's not intimidating, and one where you can be an active participant in your labor and not go into, it's not a surgery. It is something that you are a participant in and you need to be prepared for. And so my hope is that I can share some helpful information for women who, again, want to enjoy their birth, are excited about their birth, want to enjoy it, and want to be prepared for it. Whether that means that you are looking to go unmedicated or not, whether that means you're looking to get an epidural or not. So that is basically the gist of this channel. And my hope is, again, that I can just help women to enjoy their birth more. And I know that when I was preparing for my birth, people would say like pain-free birth, or, you want to enjoy your birth. And I'm like, okay, they're just like saying that. And then I actually did it. And I was like, wow, wait, it was not that it was pain-free, but it wasn't as painful as everybody made it seem like it was going to be. It wasn't as scary as everybody made it seem to be. And I think that that is why so many women who have done an unmedicated natural birth on their own want to share their story and want to help other women, because it can be enjoyable. And I think so many other people, I won't even say just women, push this idea that like, you have to get the epidural, you have to get the epidural, but you don't. And you can truly just breathe through your birth and you will enjoy it. You will enjoy the process, and you will appreciate your body for all that it can do. So I think that that's kind of what made me want to start this channel. With all that being said, that's kind of where the videos will take us. But today's video is my natural, unmedicated, positive birth story. So I'm going to take it back to March 4th. It was a Tuesday. I'm a school teacher, so I was still working. I was planning on working until I gave birth, which I didn't. My due date was March 9th. So I was planning on working through March 7th. That Friday. So it's Tuesday, March 4th. After school, I went to a checkup doctor's appointment, 39-week doctor's appointment, where the midwife that I met with, or I can't remember if it was a midwife or a doctor, but she checked, okay, everything's good. Started talking about induction, and I was very upset because I didn't even get to my due date yet, and we're already talking about needing to talk about induction, which again, doing my research, I did not want to be induced. So I had said to her, I'm really not looking to do that. We can maybe talk about it next week and then go from there, but let's wait until I even get to my due date. She asked if I wanted to be checked, to see if I'm dilated at all. I said no, because I know that you can be walking around 3 centimeters dilated for weeks, or you could be 0 centimeters dilated and go into labor that night. I just said I didn't want to be checked for my to see how dilated I was, and I went about my day. I was a little upset after that appointment. Like I said, I started thinking about like, oh my gosh, what if I have to be induced? And then I just calmed my mind. I said, I could go into labor tonight. Like, I could go into labor any day, and I don't know. So I just tried to put those thoughts aside. I did what I normally do. I went to the gym with my husband. We were working out. At the end of the workout, I just felt like really fatigued and anxious, and I was having cramps in like the upper part of my stomach. We came home. I made us a really nutritious dinner. It was homemade meatballs, sweet and sour meatballs with a vegetable, rice, a very nutritious meal, which I'm very thankful for. Again, that kind of happened the night before I went into labor. And I just said to him, like, I'm just not feeling good. I think, and he's looking up signs you're going into labor, I'm like, I'm not going into labor. Please stop. I said, I'm just having like cramps up here, which from the research I had done, that was not a sign of going into labor. Cramps in your abdomen, yes, but not like up in your ribs. I said, I think I'm just doing too much. I'm like 39 weeks pregnant and I'm still working. I'm still working out. I'm still like running all around, going to the doctor, making dinner. Like, I think I'm just doing too much at this point. And I need to relax. So, okay. And I couldn't describe, the cramps honestly subsided and I just started feeling really anxious. And he was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I feel so anxious. But then I went to bed, literally went to bed, no problem. Like, it's not like I was in pain or anything. The cramps subsided. I just felt anxious and I went to sleep. It was 12:50. I woke up and I went to the bathroom like I normally do when I'm pregnant, any pregnant person does in the middle of the night. I came back in bed and I felt something wet. And when you're pregnant, there's just all stuff coming out of you kind of all the time. So you're like, okay, I don't know what that was. But I'm like, I should probably get up and check. Like, I should probably make sure it's nothing. And when I got up, I felt like water on the side of my leg, like my inner thigh. And I thought, okay, that's not normal. So I'm like, to my husband, I'm like, Mark, I think my water broke. And he says that, I was like freaking out. But that's how I envision it in my head. That I was like, Mark, I think my water's breaking. Because it was only a little bit. And I had heard that can happen, that it might not be a gush all at once. It might just be like a little trickle. So I was like, okay, that's weird. So then I went to the bathroom. My husband's right behind me, following me. And literally once I got to the tile floor, it was like a movie, gushed out of me. Oh, it was crazy. And I was thankful that it was on the tile floor because I'm a very OCD person. So I would have been trying to deep clean my carpet prior to leaving for the hospital. But yeah, so my water breaks. It's 1 a.m. I call the doctor right away. I know that I'm going right to the hospital because I tested positive for GSB, the bacteria that they test for at 37 weeks. So if you test positive for it, you can get penicillin when in your IV at the hospital to make sure the bacteria doesn't harm the baby coming out. So anyway, so I knew that we were going right to the hospital because my water broke. I envisioned laboring at home for hours before I went to the hospital. But because my water broke and then I started having contractions, it was kind of the opposite. I had to go right to the hospital. So I call my mom, he calls his mom. We let them know that we are going to the hospital, that I'm in labor, and I finished packing my bags. At this point, I had pretty much my bags packed. I needed to pack a couple extra things. I had gotten a full shower the night before. I was very thankful for that. My hair was washed, everything was shaved. I was like, okay, we're in good shape. So I just wanted to like do my hair before I went. So I straightened my hair real quick. I put on my fake eyelashes. And I asked my husband if I had time to self-tan, and he looked at me and said, Olivia, get in the car. We have to go. So it took me about an hour between my water breaking and us getting in the car ready to go. So then when we get to the hospital, everything was pretty seamless. I checked into triage. I really had to go to the bathroom, which was so uncomfortable because you're in triage, like in this little room, and the bathroom is right there. So it was just uncomfortable. And then the little nurse comes back in and is checking my blood pressure. My blood pressure is elevated. So she's like, giving me the idea that she thinks I'm having preeclampsia. That's how high my blood pressure is. So I am not freaking out at all. Like, I am so calm. I'm like, I know I don't have preeclampsia. I'm in labor. I'm having contractions. So I forgot to mention, by the time an hour passes and we get in the car to go to the hospital, I'm having contractions. Prior to my water breaking, I was not having contractions. I was not in pain, unless the night before's weird cramps were contractions, but I did not feel anything like contractions, like cramps, like nothing that was painful really. And I wasn't having contractions even after my water broke until an hour later. I started having contractions on the way to the hospital. I would describe the contractions at this point like back cramps during my period. If you are someone who gets back cramps during your period, you know how it feels. It's painful. and it feels just like kind of like a shooting pain in your back. But once it's over, it's over. It's not anything that's like, you're not doubled over in pain from it. I just really started focusing on that breathing and started implementing the techniques that I had learned. The only thing in triage was that she couldn't get my IV in, and that was very uncomfortable because my arm was spewing blood out of it because she like missed the vein and then took the thing out. It was very uncomfortable, but I just said to her, do not worry, it's okay, it's fine. All of the nurses were amazing in the fact that they like would wait for a contraction to be over to then do what they had to do. But that was not ideal. So finally I get checked. At this point, I think I'm 3 centimeters dilated. I'm 90% effaced, which if you don't know, that's your cervix softening. So it needs to get to 100% from like a hard muscle to a soft muscle. And then I was -3, which is the baby's position in your pelvis. So if he's negative, that means that he's like pretty high up. It goes to -3 to +3. So I have to double check that, but it goes from -3 to +3 or -5 to +5, something like that. Oh yeah, -5 to +5. So when he was at -3, and it was like kind of still up in my pelvis, like he's not ready at all to come out. So I'm like, okay. So we go to our hospital room. I walked up there, no problem. I had to stop in between contractions and just hold on, breathe through it. My mom lives 45 minutes away from the hospital. She was there before we even got out of triage. So that was amazing. It was awesome to come out of triage and see her there like waiting. So that was fun. So we went up to the room. Right away, I just get right to work. The blow up balls there. So I just took the ball and I just got right on it and doing my thing, sitting on it, bouncing on it, moving around on it to get through the contractions. At this point, they are still not that painful. They are definitely bearable. They are uncomfortable. That's what I would call them. I would not call them painful. I would just say they are uncomfortable. Every time I had a contraction, I would just breathe through it. I didn't yell. I didn't moan. I didn't do any of that. At one point was having a contraction and my mom and my husband were just like talking, and it is, mind you, it is like 3 a.m. at this point. There is nothing that needs to be said besides just small talk. So I said, shut up. And then once the contraction passes, this is the craziest thing. Once the contraction passes, you are a normal person again. Like you are not uncomfortable. You are not in pain. You are just relaxing. So it's so crazy because then once the contraction passed, I said, I'm sorry for yelling, but when I have a contraction, please be quiet. Please do not talk. Because it's hard to, again, I'm trying to focus at this point. Your contractions are your body opening up. So if you're focused and breathing through them, your body will open up faster than if you're tense and anxious. And I also had to get the IV in for the penicillin, and I had to have blood retaken because they didn't take the blood properly down in triage. My nurse says I have horrible news. I don't know why she did that. Because I'm thinking that my baby's in distress, I need a C-section. And she says, we have to retake your blood because it wasn't drawn properly in triage. That is not the worst news. Again, I'm about to push a baby out of my body. I'm not concerned about getting blood drawn. But I did have to get back in the bed. I will say, getting in the bed was the most painful going through the contractions. It was when you had a contraction and you're just laying there, it was just so painful versus the other things that I did, like being on the ball. So at this point, she redraws my blood. I was very uncomfortable because she tells me to get in the bed to draw the blood, but then when I get in the bed and I lay down and I'm ready for her, she's like, oh, I have to go get this stuff. So then she leaves the room. So it's just frustrating when you're going through contractions. You're in pain. You don't want to lay in a bed because it's very uncomfortable. Other than that, the nurses were great. She was great still, but they just, little things like that when you're going through labor are just annoying. But looking back, I'm like, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal. My mother-in-law gets there, not long after we get checked into the room. At this point, I am throwing up during after the contractions, during the contractions, I probably threw up about 4 times. I also had a wireless monitor, so that was on my stomach. I didn't want any fetal monitoring. I wanted like intermittent fetal monitoring, but honestly, I was very happy that I had that wireless monitor because it was nice to see the contractions on the screen. Because of the research I had done, I kind of knew what my contractions would look like during the different phases of labor. So as I progressed, it was nice to see the contractions. It was also nice to see the contractions because like if I had a really painful one, I felt validated because then I saw it on the screen that it was pretty high up on the chart. So about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours later, I am 6 centimeters dilated, 100% effaced, and he's at -1. So I'm like, okay, that felt so good to know that I was progressing. My labor was moving forward because I just was so worried that it wouldn't. So at this point, I'm ready to switch it up. They did not have tub rooms available. They only have 2, and they reserved them for people going unmedicated. However, apparently it was a very popular night to have a baby. They were not available. So I didn't let it get to me. I didn't let it mess me up. You cannot birth in the tub, but you can prep in the tub. You can go through your contractions for pain management. But it was fine because my room had a shower. So me and my husband were like, all right, let's utilize that. And I got in the shower. I will say one thing I really liked, I'll put in some pictures too. I did not take any videos because I did not know how this was going to go, was that I packed my own little nightgown, and the gown that they give you in the hospital is so uncomfortable, just like the way it fits. So I would highly recommend that. Having my own nightgown to labor in was so much more comfortable than the gown that they give you. So I get in the shower and I'm just letting the water like hit my back. And my husband is standing outside the shower. It's like, there's no walk-in to get in. So he's just standing next to me. And every time I had a contraction, I would do the dancing pose, I don't know what it's called, position. He was so helpful. This is just a shout out to him. He was by my side through every contraction, really doing the breathing with me, like mirroring my breathing. And that was so helpful to keep my mind focused on how I'm supposed to be breathing. So that's what I did every time I had a contraction. And before I knew it, an hour had gone by. So, and at this point it's 7 o'clock because the nurses are switching. So I get out of the shower. I'm like, okay, I was in there for long enough. Like that was good. I feel really good. I feel really ready to keep going. And the nurses switch. My nurse, McKenna, was amazing at this point. Like I can't get over how much I liked her. She just was like the perfect nurse for me. Olivia, my old nurse, my night nurse, I should say, was like, you are progressing so well. Like, I think you're going to have this baby by 9 a.m. So I was like, okay, like that again, just gave me the motivation to be like, this is not going to take as long as I think it's going to take. And it's flying by. Like every time I'd be like, okay, what time is it now? I'm thinking they're going to say like 5 minutes, or like, it's been an hour. Like it's 4 a.m. I'm like, what? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how quickly it goes by when you're in it. Versus like my preparation up until this point. I'm like, how am I going to do this for hours? But it was crazy. So it's already 7 a.m. It's switching. And I'm like, I want to get checked again. Like, I want to see how much I've progressed. I'm like, she says, is it going to change your plan? If you are 7 centimeters, 8 centimeters, 9 centimeters, is anything going to change? Like, are you going to want an epidural? And I said, no. And she's like, then I would not get checked. Like, you're just risking infection and you don't need to be checked. It's not going to change anything. And I'm like, well, how am I going to know if I'm ready to push? She's like, it's going to feel like you have to poop. And I'm like, well, at this point, I am kind of feeling like that when the contractions come. She's like, no, it won't stop. Like, you'll know. So I'm like, okay, like, I guess I won't get checked. But I really just wanted it for the motivation to get to, like, that I was progressing again. So another hour goes by, and this hour I'm walking around the room. So I'm just walking around the room, my hands up, my hands down, just pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. My husband would kind of like rub my back, but honestly, that didn't feel that good. Like when he would rub my back, I didn't really like that. I didn't really like anyone touching me when I was going through the contractions. I thought I would, but I really did not like it. Any of the bigger contractions, I would just lean over the bed and breathe through. But most of the smaller contractions, or not the really painful ones, I was able to walk through with little pain, I'll say. I won't say little to no, but sometimes a contraction would happen on the screen and I would not feel it. I would describe the pain as really strong cramps in your back. When you breathe through them, not that painful, doable. You can get through them in the right environment. When I first got to the room, I also set up my diffuser with lavender essential oils. Honestly, I didn't really smell it too much. I also forgot to mention, throughout the labor, the entire time, I'm drinking water and I'm drinking electrolytes. Every single time I had a contraction afterwards, I'm like, water, electrolytes. Like, I just kept it going the entire time. And honestly, I wanted it. I was really thirsty. I had like a couple sips of the little applesauce pouches, but that was pretty much it. Another thing I did that really was helpful was after I got out of the shower, I put on my speaker with my music. You can make a playlist whatever you feel. I actually had a couple playlists ready to go. One that was like more of a pump up playlist, one that was kind of just jams, like regular music, and then one that was my worship music. And this is the one that when I was in labor, I knew this is what's going to get me through. So I put that on, and that was actually super helpful. Like going through the contractions, leaning on the bed, just listening to the music, breathing was so helpful. I was very happy because the doctor switched at 7 a.m. as well, and the midwife was on. Only met her one time because you meet like so many doctors and then it's just kind of whoever's on. But I really liked her, and I really wanted a midwife to deliver my baby because they seemed to be more holistic focused, and that was important to me. Again, going unmedicated, I wanted someone who's going to follow my birth plan and kind of choose holistic alternatives versus medicinal alternative. When I got checked and I was 6 centimeters dilated, I said to my husband, I'm going to be entering transition phase, and this is the most painful, but it only lasts about 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes even a half an hour. So it's the most painful part of contractions, but it is where your body finishes opening up and you are ready to push afterwards. So I knew that that was coming up and it was going to be the most painful, the most challenging. I get checked, I'm 9 centimeters. I'm like, okay, I'm like so close. But I haven't entered transition yet. Like I have not had these like super painful, really close together contractions yet. And this is when they start. So they were just back to back to back to back. My husband describes it as like every 30 seconds I was having a contraction that was like, they're shorter, but they're like off the charts. Like it looks like a tower versus the other ones kind of look like a leveled out pyramid. So those were so painful and really, really, really hard to breathe through. My whole body was shaking with pain, honestly. With pain, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. At this point, it was really hard to breathe through them and like let my body open up. One thing that really helped me get through the contractions is that I kept saying to myself, it's going to get so much worse. It's going to get so much worse. I never let myself feel like, oh my gosh, that was painful and unbearable. I just kept saying to myself, it's going to get so much worse. Another thing I kept telling myself was, and I had the affirmation cards printed, but I did not utilize them. But one affirmation that really helped me was, every contraction brings me closer to meeting my baby. And every time I had a painful one, I just thought that. So close, I'm almost there. Another thing I thought was, I never wanted the epidural, I will say. Like, it didn't really cross my mind. The only thing that crossed my mind was I thought, if I were to ask for an epidural right now, it would take an hour before I even get one, because you need to go through a whole bag of fluids before you even get the epidural. And then that's if the anesthesiologist who is administering the epidural is available then. So it could be another hour to 2 hours before I even get it. And my labor was progressing so well that I did not want to slow it down in any sense of the way. Again, I wasn't interested in getting it, but that was one thing that helped me realize, like, you're not getting it. Like, there's no turning back. Like, you are committed to this. It's gonna take too long to even get. Like, by that time, I could have my baby by then, if I just stay focused and stay aligned with what I want to achieve. So I get checked. I'm 9 centimeters, 100% +1. So I look through my notes, which I am like a typical teacher, student person. I need notes to help me remember things. What can I do to get this baby down? Because just because you're 10 centimeters dilated does not mean it's time to push if you are not bared down, if your baby is not down enough to start pushing and is ready to also come out. So I look through my notes. I'm like, what can I do to get this baby down? Because when I get to 10 centimeters, I want to be ready to push. Like, I don't want to wait any longer. So I look through my notes and I see lunges. And I just remember reading that. I don't know if I have that written down, but I remember reading that lunges gets the baby down. So I start doing lunges around the room. And my little support team, my mom, my mother-in-law, my husband, were so amazing. They were just so encouraging, and they were just cracking up. Like, you are the only person doing lunges in your labor, like in your hospital room. But that is what I read that would get the baby down. And again, I just wanted to be ready to push at 10 centimeters. So I'm doing lunges around the room, probably for like 20, 30 minutes. And I'm having those super painful contractions, just back to back to back. But moving helped so much. Again, I would have a contraction and not know it or not feel it super painful because I was moving and kept my body going. When I did stop, my husband did the double hip squeeze. If you don't know this and you're planning on doing an unmedicated birth, tell your birthing partner to do this, because this helps take the pressure off when you're going through the contraction. It releases a lot of the pressure in your back to where you are able to breathe through it. Because without him doing that, it was very hard to breathe through the contraction because of the pain. But I was okay. Like, it was not like these movies where they're screaming and they're freaking out. It was not like that at all. It was very calm. I wasn't uptight at all. Like I said, I only had that one moment where I said, shut up. And then every other time I was going through a painful contraction, and if they were like talking or something was bothering me, I would just give them a hand signal that looked like this. And when I did that, they knew to like, okay, she's like going through a painful one. Let's like zip it, which was helpful. So, and then other than that, like maybe I groaned a couple times, but again, I had watched videos of like women and they were just like groaning so loudly and like moaning, and I just was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to be like that. But I didn't have to like not be like that. It wasn't that bad. And it was easier to breathe through it than to moan through it or scream or do anything like that. So I'm doing my lunges around the room to get my baby down and to continue dilating. So I'm like, okay. I look at my notes and I see knees in, feet out when you're in the end of like your labor. So I'm like, okay. And that's like how you want to push your baby, knees in, feet out. So I'm like, so I changed my position of how I was standing immediately. I say to my husband, I'm like, go get the doctor. I hear my mom and my mother-in-law, they're like, what'd you say? Should I get the doctor? What'd you say? I'm like, go get it's time. It is time. Like, in that contraction, it was like the one where I was like, oh no, I'm ready to push. Like, I knew. So I'm like, okay. So he goes get the doctor. She comes in. She's like, okay, let's check you. She's like, okay, you are 9.5 centimeters dilated. She like pushes on my cervix. I don't know what that means, but she like pushed something inside, and she's like, oh my gosh, it just pushed back. We're good to go. 10 centimeters. Let's have this baby. It was like, I'm smiling. It was the most exciting moment that I could imagine. Like, me and my husband and my mom and my mother-in-law, we were so excited. I was so relieved because I'd gotten through what I knew would be the hardest part of this labor, the transition period. Because I knew that after this, once you get to 10 centimeters, your baby's bearing down, you're ready to push, your contractions start to level off. So they level off and they're a lot more calm so that you can push and you work with your body to push the baby out. So I started pushing on my hands and knees. So my knees were on the bed and I'm facing backwards and my hands are on the top of the bed. My nurse McKenna was so amazing. She helped me with guided breathing and pushing. So you breathe in, take a deep breath in, and then you push out and breathe out at the same time for 10 seconds. And then you can keep doing that for the duration of your contraction. So usually like 3 to 4 times you push. I didn't realize in labor that you like stop pushing. So you have a couple minutes in between each contraction. A contraction is essentially your body getting the baby out. So you're pushing during your contraction because you're working with your body to push the baby out. So you have like a couple minutes in between where you're like just resting, relaxing. Again, you're yourself. So, but you are pushing so hard. So you need to try and like relax during it. And I'm pushing in between the contractions. My mom and my mom's to my right, my husband's to my left. And they are just like rubbing my shoulders, like going crazy, like rubbing my back, rubbing my shoulders, like cheering me on. And I was like, I kind of was thinking like, why are they rubbing like my shoulders like that? But it was really nice. Like my mom's like, is this annoying? Are you like, is this okay? I'm like, no, this feels great. Like water, electrolytes, again, just keeping the water and electrolytes coming the whole time. I hear my husband tearing up, which was really sweet. My midwife and my nurse are just cheering me on. Everybody's cheering me on. My mother-in-law was right to the side of me. So they were like cheering me on the whole time. And she's like, you're so close, you're so close. And I'm like, okay. Again, I did not let myself feel like I was close. So I just keep pushing. And I really tried to focus on breathing out and pushing out at the same time because that's supposed to help you not tear or tear less. So at this point, she's like, okay, do you want to try a different position? And I did not think I would like pushing on my back, but I'm like, okay, like I guess so. I'd probably been pushing for like 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes at this point. So I'm like, I guess maybe 20 minutes at this point I've been pushing for. So I'm like, okay, like I guess let's try something different, like see if it will help. I flip over to my back. You like hold your legs up pretty far up. And again, I didn't have medicine. So you can feel that he's like coming down. Again, they're saying you're so close. I'm not letting myself feel like he's close, but I could feel that he was like moving down and getting pretty close. Which was an amazing feeling, honestly. Like having that feeling of knowing where he is in your body was a really cool experience. And then I flip over and I'm pushing that way and I could really feel that I was making progress. And at this point, you see her, my midwife is like gearing up. So I'm like, okay. Like they say like, okay, it's time to push, like let's do it. But my husband will describe it as she's sitting at the edge of the bed, just like looking, just like, okay, push. No gloves on, no nothing. I don't know because I wasn't facing that way, so I have no clue. But you knew that he was getting close when she starts putting on the gloves and getting everything ready. And there's like bags going down and all this stuff happening. He must be actually getting close because they're like really preparing for him to come out. So she's like, he's right there. Do you want to touch his head? So I touch his head and I'm like, of course I wanted to touch his head. So I'm like, yes, touch his head. I'm like, oh my gosh, like he is right there. Like, again, I can feel it, but to feel, like I can feel it in my body, but to reach down and literally physically touch my baby, I was like, oh my gosh, let's go. Like then I had another whole motivation. And so then a couple more pushes, I think it was like less than a half hour later, my baby is there. She's like, push. My mom is crying. My husband's smiling. And I pushed the baby out. She's like, grab your baby. So I reached down and grabbed him and put him on my chest. And it was so awesome. I just wanted to say there is a ring of fire there. That is true. So when he was coming out, it just felt like burning, and then relief, instant relief. It just was burning for the duration of, I guess, his head coming out, maybe 5 seconds. And then it was just relief. And that was literally it. He's on my chest. I didn't cry, actually. I just was like in shock. I was so amazed at how beautiful it was and how seamless it was. And so he's just on my chest. They're wiping him down, you know, doing all the things just while he's sitting on me. They did not cut his cord until it stopped. It was like 5 minutes of it pulsing. My midwife was so great. She just kept waiting for it to be done, and wait for it to turn white. And then my husband cut the cord, and I did tear. So my baby, in all of our ultrasounds, had his hand by his head. And when he was coming out, he also had his hand by his head. So I tore on both sides, and then like the normal place that you tear on the bottom, I guess. Just very small though on the bottom. I delivered the placenta. That was pretty easy. And then the last really cool thing that happened was he was on my chest and already starting to look for my breast to breastfeed. And that is one thing that I knew was supposed to happen, especially going unmedicated. You get so many benefits, which I will talk about in another video. But the fact that he just like was automatically going to my breast to breastfeed was so amazing. And I was so excited that he was like doing what he was supposed to do, that it was just so beautiful. And then my nurse was cracking up. She's like, oh my gosh, chill out, buddy. Like, give her a second. Like, you just got out here. You're already hungry. So I believe once she was finished like wiping him off and taking measurements and doing that kind of stuff on my chest, I can't really remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I breastfed for a little bit. So that was really cool. My sister drove up from Virginia. I had texted her at night that I was going into labor, but I didn't check my phone the whole time, obviously. And my mom had been keeping her updated. My water broke at 1 a.m. and my baby was here by 8:39 a.m. So she arrived and ready to meet her nephew, which was awesome. My support team, my mother-in-law and my mom and my husband are like feeding me all the snacks I packed. I had two Uncrustable sandwiches, a banana. Like, I was starving after I gave birth. I was so hungry. The only other thing I will say about the birth in general was afterwards, I was shaking so much. You're shaking, I think, from all the hormones like being released from your body and just everything, I guess. But I did not know that. I was shaking so much. I like couldn't even control how bad I was shaking. But I was shaking during labor too, so I guess that's normal. But overall, my experience was so amazing and so beautiful and so rewarding. I hope that encouraged you, and I hope that you stick around and watch some more of my videos to also have a enjoyable birth that you can look back on and be happy with. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.